Something that I've heard you comment on in the past in the realm of game design is how often you hear people talk about the games they've made and they don't appear to understand why the thing that they've built is good.
Surprisingly often that happens. Yeah.
I don't think this is limited to games. I actually think artists in general often don't know why the thing that they've made is good. It's almost that this death of the author idea, right? The person who was responsible for making the thing isn't privileged in their observation of it when they've finished, and they may be as it may be as intangible for them as for anybody else. Especially when you can stumble upon gold, and that gold is, the quality of it is in the interaction between elements, right?
I'm not that big of a fan of the death of the author idea because it appears to me to be a very obvious ploy to say, I'm a graduate student who wants to write research papers, and what I have to say about this thing is just as legitimate as what the author had to say.
Right.
Therefore, my research or my paper is important and good, right?
Uh-huh.
I think that's where that came from. But there are some things about it that are maybe not that surprising. Like, okay, there's always luck, right? So sometimes people can just luck into something, and then they don't luck into that again. And that's not too surprising. But, sometimes there's things, it really doesn't seem like luck. It really seems like this thing was really good. Mm-hmm. And then people don't get it. And maybe that's not that surprising either, because I wish I could make things faster, but, I tend to work on things hard for a long time. And one aspect of that is it gives your unconscious mind time to just look at things, and then you have ideas that are good. That's just how that works.
Yeah.
And you can't really schedule it. You can't demand to have a good idea right now. In fact, that's often counterproductive. But so it is not that hard for me to imagine going through a phase where that process is working very well. Mm-hmm. And then for some reason I screw it up, or it stops happening, and the good ideas just don't come anymore. And maybe if I don't even visualize that as an interaction between my unconscious and conscious mind, if I just am well, I had all these good ideas, and I don't know what that, I just have good ideas sometimes, whatever. And then I could see that as happening, but it's complicated. And I wouldn't pretend to understand it.
Like a musician could spend years learning music theory and understanding why this chord followed by this chord has that emotional effect. But the only point of music theory is to try to understand the way that an untrained brain receives music in the first place. So you could write music without understanding any music theory. You just press notes until it pleases your own brain and release it and other people enjoy it. And if you went and talked to them and said, why is your music good? They may not have even heard of the idea of a chord. They just press buttons and they like it. And it's beyond their grasp conceptually. As an artist, they can, versus somebody else may be able to introspect and say, well, this is my process and it's repeatable, and I'm sort of pulling the strings behind the scenes, so I have this understanding of my own art. But I think it's very possible that somebody can create something without the slightest idea of why the thing works, and that might be the most frustrating thing as an artist ever, to be unaware of their own process. But